Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. In our last session, we had did up to the third shloka. Mayyevo deti chidvyomni jagad gandharva pattanam atoham nakatham brahma sarvajñam sarvakaranam. In our last session, we began this text, Advaita Makaranda by Lakshmidhar Kavi. This is for the advanced sadhakas of Vedanta. Advaita, as the word says, non-dual, and Makaranda is the honey or the nectar, one can say, the nectar of non-duality. That is, this nectar is deep within the flower, and this nectar of non-duality is deep within the Upanishadic mantras. So throughout this text, we will be going at a very subtler and subtler level of understanding of this non-duality. The first shloka was, of course, the Mangal shloka. Lakshmidhar Kavi, the author, he invokes the blessings, grace and blessings of his Guru as well as of his Ishta Devata, Anantananda Swami and Lord Krishna, to help us cross the delusion, the shoreless ocean of delusion, and for which we need grace, Ishwar Krupa, Guru Krupa, Shruti Krupa and Atma Krupa, without which we cannot walk the spiritual path. So, we have been blessed. What is a sign that we have Ishwar Krupa is our interest in studying the scriptures. That itself is Ishwar Krupa. The very fact that we are keen, we desire to study the scriptures, so that itself is Ishwar Krupa. And Guru Krupa is being accepted by a Guru as his student, his disciple, and to give the instructions in the scriptural studies. That is Guru Krupa, that is his grace. And the scriptural Shruti Krupa is, Shruti explains the same statement, the same principle in various ways, because all the seekers are at different levels of evolution. So the same truth has to be explained in different ways so that the seekers of different level can comprehend it. So when we start understanding it, that is Shruti Krupa. And Atma Krupa is very, very important, because without Atma Krupa, we cannot progress in the spiritual path. Atma Krupa is our own strong resolve, determination, sankalpa to see to the logical end of this study. That is the realization of the self, nothing less than that. So anything less than that, that means like we are same as ignorant people. There is no difference. Either we are realized or we are not realized. Now, there is nothing in between state. I have realized 50%, I have realized 40%, I have realized 80%. There is no such thing like that. Either we are realized or we are not realized, plain and simple. Of course, we may be at a higher level of spiritual evolution, but as regards the realization is concerned, either we are or we are not, plain and simple. So to see to the logical end of it, till then, that strong determination is Atma Krupa. So that Atma Krupa has to be there, and therefore Lakshmidhar Kavi invokes the grace of his Guru and his Ishtadevata. In the second shloka, he said that Aham Asmi Sada. So Sada Aham Asmi, Sada Aham Bhami, Sada Bhami, and Sada Kadachit Na Aham Apriya. So Sada Aham Asmi, Sada Bhami, and Kadachit Na Aham Apriya. So I am always, I exist always, and I am of the nature of consciousness, I am of the nature of awareness, I am the illuminator, I am the knower. So Sada, I am always of the nature of consciousness, awareness, and then Kadachit Na Aham Apriyam. There is no time when I dislike myself. Now this is the same thing, that is Asti Bhati Priyam. Here it is Asmi, Bhami, and Kadachit Na Apriyam. So there it is Asti Bhati Priyam. In Drigdashya Vivek we saw, basically both are the same as Sat Chit Ananda Lakshana. So we saw that Aham Asmi, I always exist. So I always exist not as the body, mind, intellect, sense organs and so on, but I always exist as consciousness, as awareness in and through. And Sada, always. There is no time when my existence is not there. I do not have an experience of my own absence, or I cannot deny my own existence. I have never had an experience of my absence as such. If somebody says that I do not exist, then who is the one who is saying this? So the one who is saying, of course, it does exist. So non-deniability of our own existence is Sada Asmi. Then Sada Bhami, always there is an awareness of the waking plane, the dream state, the deep sleep state, it continuously goes on. Awareness of all our experiences, that is also there. So this awareness factor is always there. And of course, we love ourselves the most. So, Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. So, we love ourselves the most. And this factor, Asti Bhati Priyam, Satchidananda, they are not the three different aspects, that they are the same. That which exists, that itself is consciousness, and existence and consciousness is bliss. They are not three different things. So existence is consciousness, consciousness is existence, and existence and consciousness is infinite bliss. The three. And therefore in Drigdashya Vivek we saw Asti Bhati Priyam Nama Rupam. So in the entire existence, if we discard the Nama Rupam, then Asti Bhati Priya is the same in everyone. For example, bitter gourd, somebody may like it, somebody may not like it, Karela. But if that Nama Rupa is discarded, then it is Asti Bhati Priya only. That Karela is also Asti Bhati Priya, bitter gourd, without the Nama Rupa. So without the Nama Rupa, it is Asti Bhati Priya. Nama Rupa of Ravan is discarded, then it is Asti Bhati Priya. So this is how we look at the world. Not when you are looking at a name and form, discard the name and form, and then the focus is only on Asti Bhati Priya. So here, Aham Asmi Sada Bhami Kadachit Na Aham Apriyaham. We hear of people committing suicide. That doesn't mean that that person dislikes himself or doesn't love himself. That is not. On the contrary, because that person loves himself very much, and all those factors which is troubling him, he wants to get rid of that. If the body is troubling him, he wants to get rid of the body. Plain and simple. Body is causing him too much pain, and because he loves himself and he doesn't want to have this pain, he'll get rid of the body. So it is only for his own sake that he's getting rid of that. So the one who wants to commit suicide also because of that thing, that whatever is troubling him, he wants to get rid of that. So it is only out of love for the self. If that love for the self was not there, then you would not bother with all these aches and pains and sorrows and miseries and let them come, let them stay. What does it matter? but all of us want to be happy. So one small misery that comes in our life, immediately we want to get rid of it. We don't want it. We cannot accept that. We cannot accept the notion of death also. So nobody discusses death. If a group of people are together, nobody wants to discuss death. Death is something that is forbidden. We don't want to discuss it. Why we don't like it? Because the very notion of death is alien to us. There is no such thing as death for us because we have always existed. And therefore, when somebody tells us that one day you will die, that is unacceptable to us. Okay, the body has to perish because if it is created in time, it will die in time. But consciousness is not created in time, nor it will perish in time. Consciousness is beyond the space, time, and object. So therefore, that existence is always there. So that consciousness is always there. We love ourselves the most. And therefore, these qualities are there in Brahman, Sat, Chit, Ananda. And therefore, Brahma eva aham, ataha siddham, that is proved, Satchidananda Swarupa. Now, having said this, in the third shloka, this is an important shloka, we have to get a clarity on this, so that there is no notion of any doubt in that, any misunderstanding or doubt. Now, here in the third shloka, Lakshmidhar Kavi says, Mai eva udeti chid vyomni jagat gandharva pattanam ataha aham na katham brahma sarvajnyam sarva karanam. Sarvajnyam and sarva karanam. Sarvajnyam is the knower or illuminator, and sarva karanam being the substratum or the cause. So now, Mai eva udeti chid vyomni jagat gandharva pattanam. So where does the world arise? When it is said that Jagat arises in me, it doesn't mean that Jagat arises in the gross body. It arises in the space of consciousness. So in my consciousness, in the space of consciousness, because actually the body is also part of the Jagat only. So this Jagat cannot arise in the body, since body is also part of Jagat. So it has to be Chid Vyomni. In the space of consciousness, it arises, the world. Now, what is Jagat then? Jagat is anything that is indicated by idam. Idam means this. So that belongs to Jagat. So this body is also indicated as idam, this. So this is also part of the Jagat only. So anything that belongs to Jagat is inert, insentient, non-living. That is what it is. So body is inert. It has to be enlivened by consciousness. And of course, the inert objects are there. That is it. So anything that is indicated by this, that is idam. And this is what the Jagat is. Now Jagat is inert and insentient, idam. Now, one inert object cannot create itself, nor one object will be the inert object will be the cause of another inert object. It is not possible. So anything that belongs to the Jagat cannot be its cause. So the cause of that inert, insentient Jagat has to be something other than that. So Jagat is object. Anything other than object should be the cause, must be the cause of this inert Jagat. So anything other than the object is what? Then anything other than the object is what? I, the subject, I, the consciousness. So I, the consciousness, must be the cause of this inert Jagat, insentient Jagat. Because Jagat itself cannot be the cause of itself. Now here, another important thing is that when we say that, okay, I, the consciousness, is the cause of this Jagat. Now, that is also not acceptable. Because consciousness cannot be the cause of inert, insentient, non-living object, number one. And if this world was born out of consciousness, then there will be a duality also of the space, time, object, and so on. So to say that the world has been born out of or created by consciousness is also wrong, because consciousness and inert have got no relationship. So the inert world is born out of consciousness. To say that is also wrong. So consciousness cannot be the cause of this Jagat. So inert insentient Jagat cannot be the cause of itself. So it has to be that the cause has to be something other than Jagat. So something other than Jagat is consciousness. So consciousness, if we say consciousness is the cause of the Jagat, again, consciousness and insentiency, they cannot have a relationship like that. So how can an inert insentient object be born out of consciousness? That is not possible. So then what plausible explanation can be given? So there has to be a cause to this Jagat. It has to be other than the Jagat. Consciousness is one candidate for that. But again, consciousness cannot be, because an inert insentient object cannot be born out of consciousness. Then the only plausible explanation is that the Jagat is the superimposition on this consciousness. There is no actual creation as such, but it is only an appearance on the substratum of this consciousness. So this is the only plausible explanation that can be given. It is only an appearance. So the consciousness is the Adhisthana Karana, or the substratum on which this appears. Now the cinema screen doesn't create cinema. It is a substratum on which the play of light and sound appears. There is only an appearance there. We can't say that the cinema screen has created the cinema. No, cinema screen is there. Without the substratum, the appearance cannot be seen. So without the substratum of consciousness, this cannot appear. So it is on the substratum of consciousness, there is a superimposition of this world of objects, space, time, and object. There is a superimposition on that. Now, here, either consciousness is the Adhisthana Karana, one can say, that is the immutable cause, imperishable cause in which this Jagat appears. Now, experience of Jagat is not there without the thought of the Jagat. So, to experience Jagat, the thought of the Jagat has to be there. The thought of the Jagat is only in the mind. And that mind has to be enlivened by consciousness. So that thought arises in me, in the mind. So I am also the illuminator of the thought. The thought arises when the mind is blank without thought. There is nothing. For example, in the deep sleep state, when the mind temporarily is absorbed into its own source, there is neither the waking plane, waking world, nor the dream world for us. No world exists for us. So only when the mind becomes active and then the thought arises, then either it will be in the dream world, either it is semi-active, then the dream world, we get into the dream world. When it becomes 100% fully active, then we are into the waking world. So one of the two. So without the thought arising, there is no experience of the dream world or the waking world. So therefore, in the space of consciousness, in the mind, this thought arises, and then only the world is experienced. And the consciousness is the illuminator, it illumines the mind as well as illumines the thoughts or the feelings in the mind. So in me, this vritti arises, sustains, and gets dissolved. It keeps on coming there for some time and gets dissolved like that. The thing is that, so we come to the conclusion that Jagat is there, Jagat is seen, it has got a degree of reality. And then Jagat itself can't be its cause. The cause of that Jagat has to be something other than that. Something other than Jagat is the subject consciousness. Now consciousness again can't have a relationship between, there can't be a relationship between a consciousness and inert object. So if the inert object seems to appear there, then it has to be a superimposition on the substratum of consciousness. Now, if it is superimposed on consciousness, and if it is also known, so that with the help of consciousness only that can be known, so it is a substratum as well as the illuminator or the knower And where the substratum and the illuminator, they become one, where they are the same, then what happens is that then that object is just an illusion. There is no reality to that. They have got a relative reality only, where these both are the same. Consciousness itself is the substratum, consciousness itself is the illuminator. As we see in the dream world also, the whole dream world is projected. It is projected by the mind on the substratum of consciousness, and consciousness itself is illuminating the dream world. And therefore, the dream world is a total illusion. So similarly, the waking world also, which is seen outside the body, that was seen within. But as a dreamer, it was as much exactly like the waking world. As we see the waking world outside us, in the dream also, we were seeing it outside us only. It was as real to us as the waking world. Only when we wake up from the dream, then we say that, okay, the dream world was all within me. I dreamt it, my mind projected it, it was all within me. It was nowhere outside. I saw whatever I saw, the mountains, the stream, the rivers, and all that thing, it was all within me. So that is after the dreamer becomes the waker, not before that. So when these two come together, the illuminator, because there is nothing existing other than that supreme reality. And if anything is existing, that is only an appearance. It's a superimposition. So the substratum as well as its illuminator, both together, when they are the same, so that entity is an illusion. So absolutely. Now, when we were discussing the 14 causes why we cannot be the body, the 14th one was where the illuminator and the substratum is the same, that entity is an illusion that we have seen. And we also saw that the substratum is always the subtlest of everything. Even in the empirical world or the world of relative reality, in that also if we see, the subtler ones are the support of the grosser ones. The gross earth is supported by the water, which is subtler than earth. In the planet Earth, 75% is water and 25% earth. It is supported by water, and so on. After that, the atmosphere and things like that. And then this planet, along with other planets and stars, they are all supported by the subtlest of all the 5 elements, that is the space. And all these 5 elements, they have got a relative reality, and they are all insentient, inert, and non-living. And subtlest of all is the consciousness. So being the subtlest of all, it is the support or the substratum of the entire existence. The entire creation is made up of these 5 elements, and 5 elements are also supported by this consciousness, because without the awareness, their existence cannot be there. Without the awareness, so the consciousness has to be there. That is the subtlest of all, that is the support. Now, consciousness is the substratum, and consciousness itself is illumining, so it is only an appearance. Why does it appear to us? Why this world appears to us outside us and we feel that it has got a reality? It is because of the flaw in the instrument through which it is perceived. So the perception is to the limited instruments of sense organs, mind and intellect instrument through which this is perceived, and therefore the way it is appearing to us. We saw a dream world. What instrument, with the help of which instrument did we see that? Because our eyes were closed. We were asleep, our eyes were closed, our sense organs were all there, but then in the dream world we saw with our eyes closed in a dark room, a bright sunny day we saw. So with what instrument did we see? It was only in the light of consciousness we were seeing it. It was a projection of our mind, it was only thoughts. Here it is thought in the grosser form, that it was a thought in the subtle form, and yet it was only thought, projection of thought only, mental thoughts. But it was also illuminated by consciousness. Here it is also illuminated by consciousness. So the substratum, consciousness, on which the 5 elements have been projected, and the entire creation has come out of these 5 elements. So this is the subtlest, and therefore the substratum, and the knowledge of these 5 elements and the entire creation, world of names and forms coming out of these 5 elements, that is also illumined by the same consciousness. So therefore it has got only empirical reality, it is only superimposition. So there is no reality to that. Therefore this is an illusion, nothing exists like that. It has got a relative reality, as the dream world has a relative reality, and therefore this also has a relative reality only. It is mithya only. That without which effects can't be established. That is consciousness. Without consciousness, the effect cannot be established, isn't it? So that without which the effect cannot be established is its cause. So without mud, the effect pot cannot be. Pot is the effect, mud is the cause. Without mud, that pot cannot be. So without the substratum of consciousness, the five elements, and then their permutation and combination producing all kinds of names and forms is not possible. So without the seer, the scene cannot be established. We have seen in Drigdrishya Viveka. The seer has to be there to establish the scene. The scene cannot be established without the seer. The object cannot be established without the subject. So if an appearance is there, so the appearance has to have a substratum. Without substratum, the appearance cannot be. So the appearance of an illusory snake, the substratum of rope has to be there. For the appearance of the mirage water, the substratum of the hot desert sand has to be there. So without the substratum, there cannot be an appearance of an illusion also. Forget about the reality. For the illusion also to appear, there has to be a substratum of reality. For the illusion of play of light and sound, the substratum of screen has to be there. So similarly, for the illusion of the dream world, the substratum of consciousness has to be there. Without that, there can be no illusion also. So therefore, na katham brahma sarvajnam sarvakaranam. And therefore, how can I not be that Brahman, all-knowing and cause of everything? So all-knowing, that is the illuminator, cause of everything, that is the substratum. So Mai eva udeti chidvyomni jagat gandharva pattanam atah aham na katham brahma sarvajnam sarvakaranam. That is all-knowing and the cause of all. So this particular shloka, we have to do it again and again so that the thing is very clear in our mind. There is no any doubt left regarding that. Now, having said that, Atman or Brahman has been called as eternal, all pervading and extremely subtle. Eternal means, of course, imperishable. But one feels that Atman is born and dies. One feels, because obviously because of the identity with the gross body. So with the birth of gross body it is born, with the death of gross body it dies. That is what one feels. This is because of one's wrong identification with one's own body, mind, intellect, equipment. Atman is of course pure consciousness, the inner self. Again, one may ask, what proof is there that the Atman does not perish? The self does not perish. What is the proof? So now, Lakshmidhar Kavi proceeds to give the proof in the fourth shloka. Why Atman doesn't perish? Fourth shloka. Na swata pratyabhijnanat niranshatvat na chanyatah na chashraya vinashan me vinashasyadhanashrayat na swata pratyabhijnanat niranshत्वात् न च अन्यतः न च आश्रय विनाशात् मे विनाशः स्याद् अनाश्रयात्. So now, three ways has been described here. Pratyak Vijnanat is continuous memory of I. There is continuous remembrance of I. That I notion is always there. That continuous remembrance is there. Continuous memory is there. That is there. So, therefore, I am not destroyed. And nasyat swatah, that is by myself, I cannot be destroyed because of the continuous remembrance, I cannot be destroyed. Then niranshatvat because I am partless. Therefore, I cannot be destroyed. I do not have a form, I do not have a part, and therefore I cannot be destroyed. And therefore, and another thing is that I do not have any support. or Adhara or Adhisthana or any substratum as such, because with the destruction of that support, then I could be destroyed. It is not so. I never perish. A thing perishes in three ways. What are the three ways? By itself. One is by itself, by undergoing the modification, slow change. Like a body, it continuously is modifying to meet its ultimate goal of death. So this body will go and it will self-destruct. It is programmed to self-destruct at a certain point in time. So by its own self, it is going towards that. That is one. Another way is that by destruction caused by someone else. Someone can kill this body. Someone can harm the body, injure the body. Someone can cut one limb, one arm or leg or something like that because it has got parts. Or the third one is that when the support is removed from the body can die. Like for example, what is the support of the body? The support of the body is food and drink. If the body is not given food and drink, after a few days it will die. So these three ways the body can die. Now, I the self doesn't perish like that. So when the support is removed, it goes away. Now the thing is that I have none of these problems, these causes. Now pratyabhijnanat, that is the continuous memory of aham vritti, I exist. That is the pramana or the proof that I do not perish. There is no point in time when I have no awareness of my existence. I cannot ever deny my own existence. The non-deniability of my own existence itself is the absolute truth, and it is the proof that I never perish. Now, I have the memory from my childhood, from my teenage, from my youth, from my middle age, from my old age. Throughout these ages, I have the memory of all my experiences. Not only that, I have the memory and remembrance of the waking, dream, and the dream state also. These three planes of consciousness, the experiences in these three planes of consciousness, also I have memory of that also. So I am carrying all this memory. And what is the law of memory? That the experiencer and the rememberer of the experience, they are both one. That is the law of memory. So if the experiencer is there and the one who remembers the experience also, then both should be one. That is the law of memory. They are the same. So my existence is continuous. When we were doing this reasons why I cannot be the body, I think the ninth reason was that we have discussed this memory, how this memory comes into play. Pratyagabhijnanat, because of my remembrance, my memory, I never perish. Now, we have seen examples, many examples of scientifically studied and proven examples of people remembering their past life. So children at 5 age, 7 age, and they are talking about their past birth, the past life, the past family of the previous birth and all that thing very fresh in their minds. And they give the location, the place and everything. It has been found out, tested and everything like that. And we have seen that such a person who remembers the past birth very well. And he also remembers the life, the body and how he died. That also remembers very well. A so-called died means how his body perished in the last life. Now in this life, he has got a different body and he's very much that. He is the experiencer and the rememberer of his past birth and how the body died or perished. And he is the experiencer and the rememberer of the present birth as well. You see, so for such a one now, there is no need for him to be convinced that he is the same person throughout the experience and he has not perished. The body perished, but he didn't perish. That means he is an entity other than the body and he is imperishable. So that also clearly comes here. So because of pratyabhijnanat, continuous memory of I vritti, I thought, in the previous birth also and the present birth also. So this is continuous, and therefore there is no doubt that I always exist. There is no question of I getting destroyed or I being perished. So I am imperishable. This is an important thing to remember, because the continuous remembrance and the example of past life remembrance also proves this fact that I always exist. There is no time when I do not exist. But the thing is that this memory is not the Atman or reality. Memory, remembering something or forgetting something, that belongs to the mind. Consciousness actually illumines the memory or remembrance or forgetfulness also. It illumines only the presence of that. So that should not be mistaken for Brahman. That is imperishable. So because that is the first reason, continuous remembrance, I do not perish. And the proof we have got because of the scientifically studied cases of past life memories. From that, we get this knowledge that our existence is always there. There was no time when we didn't exist. There will be no time when we'll cease to exist. The name and form will perish, but we as consciousness, I as consciousness, we are always with that. Then the second one was Niranshatvat. There is no part. I am partless. Because why? Because there is no Swagata Bheda. Triveda is not there. The Vijatiya, Sajatiya and Swagata Bhed is not there in me. There are no parts to me. Homogeneous mass of consciousness. And therefore, I cannot perish. Anything that has got parts means it is limited, finite, and it comes in the realm of duality. So that which is partless, that is a homogeneous mass of consciousness, which has got no parts whatsoever, so it cannot be destroyed by anything. So nothing can, if there is a part for the body, there is part. An arm can be cut off, a leg can be cut off, something like that. Organs can be destroyed or something like that, because it has got so many parts. But this is partless, and that which is partless and homogeneous mass like that, that only can be infinite. That which has got parts will be always in the realm of the duality, and therefore in the limitations. So therefore, I cannot be, the self cannot be destroyed by anything. Then another, the last one is that if the support is there, if the support is destroyed, then that object will also get destroyed. The support of the pot is mud. So that pot exists in space. If the pot is broken, the mud is not destroyed. The substratum remains the same. The name and form is destroyed. Gold ornament is there. If the gold is removed from the ornament, there won't be any ornament, because that is the substratum of that ornament. So, because the self doesn't depend on the gross body, it is imperishable. It cannot be destroyed. So, by destroying the pot, pot space cannot be destroyed. You see? So, pot can be destroyed, but not the pot space. Because the destroyer of the pot and the broken pot, they are both in the space alone. So space is the support of pot and the destroyer of the pot also, along with the broken pot also. The space cannot be destroyed. So the substratum can never be destroyed. Substratum can never be negated also. So the superimposition can be negated, but not the substratum. So when a snake, the illusory snake is projected on the rope, that illusory snake can be negated by the knowledge of the rope. But that substratum rope cannot be negated. It cannot be destroyed like that. It cannot be negated. The substratum remains that, but that which is projected on the substratum, that can be negated by knowledge. Similarly, now we have seen, I think in the 10th or the 12th cause of why I cannot be the body, that is the law of conservation of nature. Why it cannot be destroyed. Body can be destroyed, but I cannot be destroyed. I, the consciousness, cannot be destroyed. The law of conservation states that anything that is created, that cannot be created or destroyed, can be transformed from one form to another, both matter and energy. Matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can be transformed from one form to another. That is the law of conservation. Now, matter and energy both are insentient, inert, non-living. So, to know the existence of matter and energy and their transformation, there has to be consciousness, awareness. And if the law of conservation is applicable to insentient, non-living, inert matter and energy, which is subject to transformation, it should be all the more applicable to the consciousness, which is subtler than matter and energy, and the knower of matter and energy and their transformation. And therefore, this consciousness also can neither be created nor destroyed, nor it is subject to transformation, unlike matter and energy. And therefore, I as the pure self, I as the knower, illuminator, substratum, consciousness, awareness, I always exist. There is no time when I didn't exist. There will be no time when I'll cease to exist. The name and form will cease to exist, but I, the consciousness, will continue to exist. So again, it is proven that I am imperishable. I cannot be destroyed. Now, having said that, now in the next verse, the second of the three possible ways I can be destroyed. That is, if I have got parts, it can be destroyed, or it can be destroyed by some weapon, something like that. So, in which destruction can take place is again taken up for to be elaborated upon. Namely, there is no destruction caused to Atman because of someone else or some other factor. That the Atman is partless is one reason given already. Now a more powerful reason, really a wonderful argument, is adduced in the next verse. That is the fifth one. What is that? We'll see. Na shosha plosha vikleda cheda chinnabhaso mama satyairapyanilajnambha shastre किमुतकल्पितैहि न श्लोष प्लोष विक्लेद छेदाः चित् नभसः मम सत्यैहि अपि अनिल सत्यैहि अपि अनिलः अग्निः अम्बः शस्त्रैहि किमुतकल्पितैहि. This is a very convincing now. Empirically real. Shosha, plosha, vikleda, cheda. What is the shlosha, plosha, vikleda, cheda? Shlosha is drying up. Now, satyaihi api. Now, these have got relative reality. Satyaihi api. What are the weapons here now? Weapons are satyaihi api. Even though they have got a relative reality, satyaihi api, anilaha, the air, agni, fire, amba, water, shastraihi, weapons, that is the element earth, that comes from element earth. The tree grows from the earth. The stick we take to beat someone or break someone's hand or leg, like that. So that weapon it is used, that has come from the earth. The tree has come from the earth. So that is element earth. Iron ore comes from the earth, and all the iron weapons made, that is used to kill or destroy. So that also comes from element earth. So whether it is this air or fire or water or the weapons produced from the earth, none of them can kill. None of them affects the space. You see? So it cannot dry. It cannot dry the space. It cannot wet the space. When the wind blows, when a tornado is there, when a typhoon is there, tornado is there, it can take away the heavy trucks also, it can take away with it. We can fly off with that also. The body can fly off with that. But nothing happens to space. Then, when the fire can burn everything, but nothing happens to space. It cannot burn the space. Vikleda, when there is heavy rains and we say the entire village is flooded and all that. So, but nobody reports that, oh, the space got all wet. Nothing happens to space. Space remains unaffected by the typhoon or tornado or the raging fires or volcano, erupting volcano. It doesn't affect the space, nor the floods wet it. It cannot do anything to that. So, na shosha plosha vikleda, then cheda, that is cleaving it or cutting it. So all the weapons made out of, produced from the earth, it cannot destroy it, cut it or whatever. Chit ambhasaha mama. Chit nabhasaha mama. So this chit, that is pure consciousness. So how can that be destroyed? By kalpitahi, by imagined. Now this has got only relative reality. This wind, air, fire, water, and all these things, it has got only relative reality. How can that destroy either reality? It cannot destroy even space, which has got the same thing, which has got the similar reality to the air, fire, and water, and earth. It has got a similar reality. It cannot do anything to space, and I'm subtler than space. When they cannot do anything to space, how can it destroy me? Anything can happen in space. Everything happens in space only. World wars happened in space. Nuclear weapons are used in space. What happened to space? Nothing happened to space. But maybe the water was affected, the earth was affected. Where the nuclear weapons fell, there the earth got affected. Whatever has happened, and the water may have got affected and all that thing, but not the space. Space remains the same. Air gets affected, air gets polluted. Water gets polluted, it gets affected, earth gets affected, but nothing happens to space. So, when nothing happens to space, which is of the same reality of the air, fire, water, and earth, these four elements cannot do anything to space, which belongs to the same reality. I am other than and subtler than space. How can those things destroy me? It cannot. It can destroy the body, of course, but they cannot destroy the pure self of the nature of consciousness. And this, and therefore, the self is imperishable. Shastra is only the symbol. It symbolizes earth, as Shastra comes from the earth. Now, a similar thing was also expressed in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2, verse 23. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantyapah, noshoshayati marutah. This same thing Bhagwan Shri Krishna told Arjuna, because he was afraid to fight the war. He thought that he'll be killing so many of his own people and all that thing, and especially Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya. And then he said that these are names and forms. The self cannot be destroyed by any of these. Least of all, your weapon that you are holding, that also cannot destroy the self. It can destroy the name and form, but not the self. So therefore, it is again proven that I am imperishable. I, the pure self, am imperishable. So now, when we are studying this, when we are listening to this, we have to, of course, read. We have to contemplate on it again and again and again. A conviction has to come. When the conviction comes, then we become fearless. You see, there are examples, many examples of great saints, sages, and masters. When they were threatened with death, they simply laughed. You can kill me, go ahead and kill me. There is a famous story about that Alexander who came to India, and before he left Greece on his world conquering trip, he promised his people that he will bring a yogi from India. That means 2,300 years ago, the Western world, Europe, knew about yogis in India. So that was the power of yoga. And then after his fight with King Porus, when he was returning, he remembered his promise to his people. So he thought he should take a yogi from here. And then he saw one yogi wearing just a kaupina, sitting nicely, enjoying his blissful self. So he approached him and asked him to accompany him to Greece. So the yogi told him that I am not going anywhere. I am just sitting here only. So Alexander told him that you don't know who I am. Said, whoever you may be, who cares? I am Emperor Alexander. So, and he removed his sword. I can kill you. The yogi laughed. You can kill me? Go ahead and kill me. You can only kill my body, not me. And I am, for your information, I am not the body. I am that which is manifesting through you also. My existence cannot be destroyed. And when Alexander heard this, he didn't know what to do, because all his life, all his campaign to conquer the world, then known world, he has seen people shivering in front of his sword. And here was a yogi smiling and laughing and telling him that you cannot kill me, you can kill my body. If you want to kill me, go ahead and kill me. And therefore, his sword fell off from his hand and he couldn't do anything. That is the power of the knowledge of the self. So, when we continuously contemplate on this, and that awareness is there always, their fearlessness is also come. Because it is only to remind ourselves what we have forgotten. We are the pure self, but we have forgotten. And we have identified ourselves with something else. And now, because of the limitation of that something else, we feel limited. And whatever happens to that, we feel as if it is happening to us. I will die one day. I'm having aches and pains. I will die one day. And this and that. I've got so many things to do, this and that. And therefore, we get hassled, worried, tensed, stressed, depressed, frustrated, and all that thing happens. Once that thing is given up, okay, this is what the thing is there. And it will go through its modification. I'm not that. Whatever has to be done, has to be done. And then let it go as it is. Simple as that. Then the fear of death will go away. Fear of death is the utmost fear we have. There is fear of death, deception, and dejection. Fear of death comes because of non-existence. We have the fear of becoming non-existent. And deception is there because of ignorance. And then fear of misery, sorrow, and pain is there because we do not know that we are of the nature of infinite bliss. We do not want, the fear of death is there because it was ingrained in us that one day you will die. Because of our own ignorance, we do not know the reality of our own self. And therefore, of course, the subconscious mind, there is a notion that it is not acceptable to us. Though we say that, okay, everybody dies and one day I will also die. We make a statement like that, no doubt. But then nobody wants to die, of course. So we make a statement like that, everybody dies, one day I will die. So, but then we feel that we are here eternally. But actually that is the truth. We are eternal and not limited to a short time span of 60, 70, 80 or 90 years, whatever the lifespan may be. That is not the thing. We are eternal, but that subconscious mind may be knowing it. Yet what happens is that we identified with the wrong upadhis, conditionings of body, mind, intellect, equipment, then that fear comes in us. That one day I will die, one day this thing happens, that thing happens. And therefore, knowing this and contemplating on it again and again, why I cannot perish? What are the reasons? Why I'm eternal? Why this consciousness is eternal? Why I, the pure self, is eternal? I have no experience of my own non-existence. So how will I go out of existence? So this wrong identity is only causing the problem. Otherwise, there is no problem at all. You see? So therefore, it is important that continuous contemplation on this has to be there. Now, another doubt is raised about the very validity of the Upanishadic statement indicating the identity of Atman and Brahman. You are saying that Atman is Brahman, Brahman is all pervading, and I, the Atman, is not all pervading. I am limited to this body alone. I am now and here only, so how can I be Brahman? Most of the doubts that will be encountered relate to the question of the possibility of this total identity of I, the Atman, and Brahman. Now, the reply to the above is posed in the form of a question. What is that? if it can be proved that this I, aham, is all pervasive, will it then become Brahman? Yes. So the problem set before us is to prove that I am all pervading. Now this is taken up in the next shloka. That is the sixth shloka. So we'll take up the discussion on this shloka in our next session. Now whatever we have covered today, if anybody has got any doubts or some clarification required, so that we'll do it now.
I'm unmuting. Swamiji, I have one doubt.
Yes, ask.
Swamiji, in the third verse, you said that the substratum and the illuminator is actually an illusion. How the illuminator is an illusion?
The illuminator is not an illusion. The entity of which the substratum and illuminator are one, that entity is an illusion.
Just say it again, Swamiji. I'm not with an example. I'm not getting
the entity of which the substratum as well as the illuminator are one, that entity is an illusion. For example, the dream world, the substratum of dream world is consciousness. The illuminator of the dream world is also consciousness, and therefore the dream world is an illusion. Then we also saw that how is this consciousness the substratum of this creation? We saw that inert world cannot create itself. Inert cannot be born out of inert. An inert object cannot create another inert object. So for the inert world, there has to be a cause, and that cause has to be other than that inert world. Other than that inert object is the subject conscious, I the consciousness. Now again, I the consciousness also, consciousness cannot have a relationship between inert object. So if the inert world creation is seen, that means it must be a superimposition on the substratum of consciousness. And that awareness of that is illumined by the same consciousness. So as the dream world where the substratum as well as the illuminator were one and dream world was declared as an illusion, it is an illusion. So also this empirical world, which has got a relative reality, that has also got a substratum as consciousness, because all the five elements are superimposed on that. And subtlest is the consciousness. The subtlest space is also there. It has come out of the same consciousness. It appears to be superimposed there. And therefore, it is illumined by consciousness. And therefore, this body also is a part of this Jagat only. And since the substratum and the illuminator are one in case of the Jagat also, as in the case of the dream world, therefore, dream world is an illusion. This Jagat is also an illusion. It has got similar degree of reality only. I hope it is clear now.
What happens in the Turiya stage then?
That is when we go beyond the waking dream and the dream state and we arise to a higher dimension of consciousness where you transcend the identity with your body, mind, intellect equipment, then there is no notion of duality at all. Then you are into non-dual self.
So there's no substratum there and there is no illuminator there.
There you alone exist there. That's it.
This is what it is.
The pure self alone exists and nothing else is there.
Okay, but I thought the term illuminator was for the consciousness. That's what I thought.
No, there is no difference between illuminator and the substratum. Substratum is also consciousness, illuminator is also consciousness. Same consciousness is the substratum and the illuminator. Both. They are not two different things. They are not two different entities. Like substratum is one consciousness, illuminator is some other consciousness. No, it is the same consciousness, which is the substratum as well as the illuminator of that. And therefore, when the both come together, then the entity is an illusion. So it has got only a relative reality, empirical reality, not an absolute reality for that.
So here I take the example of dream state and waking state to make me understand this further, because I am still a little confused about it.
So you contemplate on that. Read the third verse again, okay, so that the clarity will come. Read the third verse again and the 14th reason that we discussed about why I cannot be the body. So that also you go through that again. So that will give you a clarity.
Thank you, Swami. Thank you.
Any other question?
Swamiji,
yes.
Swamiji, this illuminator and substratum is troubling everybody's mind.
Yes, it will trouble us. But once you see through that, once you have a clarity on that, then you look at the world and you see the tamasha going around.
But Swamiji,
Yeah.
now say consciousness is illuminator itself is substratum. So when I look at the world through my subtle equipments of subtle body and gross body, there is always going to be illusion.
Yes.
So unless and until I transcend this subtle body, gross body, subtle body, I will never know that I am seeing the illusion. After having transcended the subtle body and gross body, when I experience the Turiya, as Rasheshwari said, then I look at the world through my subtle body. I now realize that what I am seeing is nothing but an illusion.
Then what happens is that then you see through the thing. You see through the illusion. You see the snake and you know that is a rope. You see through the illusion because now you are seeing the world through Charma Chakshu, these eyes, right. Charma Chakshu. Then you will be seeing it to the Jnana Chakshu. When you see the world to the Jnana Chakshu, every name and form you will be seeing only Asti Bhati Priyam and not the name and form per se. As such, you are seeing through that. That is the Jnana Chakshu, you see. And then when you do that, then you have got nothing against anybody. Whether friend or foe, everybody is the same thing. Asti Bhati Priya, whether it is Ram or Ravan, the form of Ram or Ravan, just discard that name and form and it is Asti Bhati Priya.
Swamiji, even Corona is also Asti Bhati Priya.
Yes, actually you see, then in non-duality, what happens is that then the entire existence is an extension of our own self.
Right. Yeah.
And we love ourselves the most. And therefore, there is a natural, pure, unconditional love for the entire existence because this is nothing but my own self. And I love myself the most. So the entire existence is an extension of my own self. And therefore, all great saints, sages, and masters, they are pure, unconditional love for the entire existence.
But Swamiji, we have always been taught that to live in this world, you should be street smart. Isn't it?
Street smart.
Means nobody should be able to cheat you. It's not necessary that you don't cheat others, but you are also not being cheated by the others.
When you are in constant awareness, then nothing happens. See, in spirituality, what happens is that you raise your awareness level. You see, what happened was once J. Krishnamurti, a great master, he was traveling by car. And in the car, two people were discussing about awareness. And then what happened that on the road, the car hit a goat or some animal was there, dog or goat was there on the road. It hit that while they were traveling. And these two sitting, they were still continuously arguing about awareness. Then J. Krishnamurti told, you are discussing about awareness. Did you realize that we have just hit a goat? So that awareness will always be there. Awareness of the subtlest of sound, everything, that awareness will be there always. The consciousness will always be there. So therefore, they can't be cheated, you see. Because when you are in full awareness, you are more all-knowing also. There is a story about Swami Vivekananda traveling by train. And then he was gifted by some Maharaj, he was gifted a very expensive watch. So Swiss watch. And he was wearing that watch. And there were two English ladies. they thought that some sadhu sannyasi illiterate fellow. So they were discussing in English that we have to somehow get that watch. That watch is very expensive, Swiss brand, and some Maharaj had gifted him. So we have to get that watch. So then they told him that you better give the watch, or else we'll complain to the police that you are harassing us. So Swami Vivekananda pretended as if he can't hear. He's a deaf guy. So he told them, write and give. So they wrote and gave that if you don't give the watch, we'll falsely accuse you that you have been harassing us. So he took that, read it, he folded it and kept in his pocket. And then he spoke in chaste English. Now we can complain to the police. So that awareness is there. That awareness is there always. At that moment, what is required to be done. So nobody can cheat you.
Swamiji, can I say that so far what we did, I'm not talking about doing our these sessions, but even at Padmini's house also, we learned about what we are not.
Right.
This particularly this Advaita Makaranda, we are learning what we are.
Yeah, it's about time we learn.
Isn't it? But this is very subtle book, I must say. It's requires very subtle book.
We have to go subtler and subtler, from Atma Bodh to Drigdrishya Vivek and then to Advaita Makaranda. Like that, we have to go subtler and subtler.
Right. Yes.
That is why Swamiji, the book of Atma Bodh today, I just totally summarized that apart from Atma Bodh, the rest everything is an illusion. So that is the total gist of the full book.
Atma Bodh text. Okay, good. So this revision has to go. The mananam and the contemplation has to go, and it has to be, that knowledge has to be ours. And once that is there clearly, so the clarity is there of all the principles, then it is very easy. So any shloka comes, then to comprehend that is very easy, to understand that is very easy. It is
like climbing a mountain. You can literally, when you are at the base of the mountain, you see all the gross, and as you go upper, you see the subtler and the huge expanse of the whole thing.
Yes. As we start rising up and up, then the difficulties also reduces, and then we have a better vision also. At the ground level, we didn't have much vision, but as we start rising, our vision also, vista increases. We have a broader vision.
True.
And then when we reach at the top, then we have the whole vision. The entire vision.
Correct.
Any question from anybody else? Padmini? Vimalji?
No, thank you.
So then, should we conclude?
Yeah, we can conclude, Swamiji.
Okay then. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.